Well, the ACC getting the spotlight tonight between the two when it comes to the Louisville Cardinals and second-rate Miami. Let's just say they've shared a pair of shootouts in the past over the past couple of years, including last year a 52-45 win by the Canes on the road. But entering Friday, the Cardinals are scoring 36 points a game, one more than the Canes there. Safe to say this would be another one that you got to watch the scoreboard. Take a look at the conference as a whole when it comes down to everything. Everybody trying to keep pace with Georgia Tech, who's been on the streak right now, 6-0, 3-0 in the conference. Outside of that, yes, Miami is down in the 5th spot, but that's only because they played one conference game, 1-0 and 5-0, and below them you see the Cards there at 1-1 at 4-1 on the season. All right, for more on this, our friends from 24/7 Sports, Jody Demling and David Lake here for tonight's showdown. And David, I want to talk to you first because we mentioned the numbers between these two. Whenever they meet, they're going to run it up. History has shown that. But what have you heard about this maybe being one of those upset alert games for the U?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this is always the last 2 years. This has been a one-score game, been a lot of points. I'm curious how the game flow works out for tonight's game because on paper, both these teams do come into tonight's game with improved defenses. But I do think there's explosive potential on both sides of the ball. Jeff Brom, one of the best play callers in the country, coming off a bye week with Louisville, has plenty of time to orchestrate some interesting play designs for Miami's defense. So it's certainly one of those upset potential type games for Miami's remaining schedule, and the Hurricanes are going to need to handle business tonight.
Yeah, guys, I think Jeff Brom he's got a knack for a big upset every year on Louisville's side, and I think that's what the Louisville folks are kind of banking on, that maybe this is that game that Jeff Brom pulls some magic out of his hat and does some tricky things or some different things like he does and do that. You're right. This has been like shootout the last 2 years. I think it's going to be a shootout tonight, and I think that obviously, in my opinion, that helps Louisville as much as they can score tonight is going to help them stay in the game.
Jody, David kind of mentioned it there when in terms of the Cardinals, their defense is better than years past, 12th best when it comes to the conference and leading the conference there. How can they match up with Carson Beck, who is maybe in the front seat when it comes to Heisman talk and other superlatives there?
Honestly, I think Louisville has to not worry about Carson Beck as much. They got to worry about him, but they've got to stop the run first. Look, if you look at last year, Miami is better than they were last year offensively. Louisville's better than they were defensively last year. They ran for 220 yards last year. It was Cam Ward doing a lot of his stuff, but it was the running game. And when Louisville has fared well against teams that are better than they are in the last 3 years in Jeff Brom's era, it's when they stop the run. And the defensive line has played really well this season. You really have to get after Carson Beck, stop the run, and put some pressure on him. And I think that's how Louisville is going to have success in this game defensively, is up front the defensive line.
Yeah, no doubt. The way Miami wants to play on offense this year, they want to lean on the run more so than they did last year. The Louisville game last year was kind of Miami's breakout rushing performance game. But I would expect Louisville to devote numbers to trying to stop the run, which is what Miami saw 2 weeks ago at Florida State. Florida State packed the box and told Miami's offense, hey, we're going to make Carson Beck beat us. Carson Beck was up to the challenge that night, tossing 4 touchdown passes through 3 quarters. And Miami showed they have that outside playmaker element at receiver as well. So it's going to be an interesting chess match to see how many different styles Miami can play relative to however Louisville decides to defend them.
Some of us will be definitely interested on Miami's defense. Rueben Bain has been getting a lot of attention, giving us that old school Miami vibe in terms of that defensive star. In fact, our own Blake Brockemeyer has a current best players in college football. I want you to take a look at this, David. He has him at the very top in terms of the best player midseason right here. Your thoughts on seeing this, because you've seen him up close in person more than most of us.
Yeah, he's a game wrecker, and he was still impacting games last year, but he was definitely hampered by a nagging leg injury that he sustained in the first game of the season. Played through it. This offseason, he got his conditioning on track, and he's in the best shape of his life this year, and it's showing up on the field. He impacts the game as a pass rusher. He impacts the game with his run defense. The power he plays with is just different at the college level. And no doubt, opponents have to game plan for him, which opens things up as well for his other teammates on the defensive line. Akeem Mesidor is, Rueben Bain and Akeem Mesidor are forming a potent pass rush duo. So Rueben Bain, the best players not only can go out and make plays themselves, they also help their teammates. Rueben Bain is that type of player for the UM defense.
Well, and for Louisville, they've got to be able to know where Rueben Bain and do something with him. And I think that is the running game. They cannot let the running game just stall tonight and let Rueben Bain just pin his ears back and come after Miller Moss, or they're going to have to pick Miller Moss up off of the ground so many times that it's going to be painful for him. Jeff Brom thinks that Rueben Bain is the best defensive end that he has seen in the last few years in college football, and definitely thinks he's probably the best player in college football this year. But for Louisville, they've got to do something in the running game in order to not let Rueben Bain just sit there and come after Miller Moss and put him on the ground. That would be the worst thing for Louisville. Their running game hasn't been great this year. They've been banged up injury-wise on the offensive line and at running back. They're a little healthier tonight than what they've been. And I think they've got to bank on that being their key to keeping Rueben Bain to a minimum, at least. He's going to get his stuff. He's going to do his thing, but they have to keep him to a minimum.
Some will say Bain was born in the darkness, at least for Miami fans here. But I'm curious, David, I'm going to throw some names out to you because it's way too many, but just a few off the top of my head. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Sean Taylor, Warren Sapp, Vince Wilfork. Does Bain fit in that list when we're talking all-time greats, maybe when he's said and done, not at this moment?
Maybe when all said and done. Let's see how the rest of the season plays out. If Miami, goes on a run in the college football playoff, maybe you can put him in amongst that group.
All right, we'll see what happens there. Bain. All right, it's a fair name. I'm not going to do the accent. Zach does it all the time. They want me to do Bain in my ear. This is a long story. We're not going to get to that, but we'll just get to some of the win predictions here. And Jody, you'll have first word.
I think when it comes down to it, I think first of all that Miami is the best team in the country. They look like the most talented team in the country, and I think for the ACC, this is a big game tonight because if Louisville can keep it close, which I think they will, I think Jeff Brom has some tricks up his sleeve. I think there are some things that he's going to do tonight offensively to try to counter what Miami's going to do defensively. Look, 2 years ago when they won in South Florida, he threw a touchdown pass to a offensive lineman who was lined up as a tight end, and they also ran a quarterback in a Wildcat that hadn't played hardly at all year and came in and scored a touchdown. So I think you're going to see some things from Louisville tonight that they haven't done, and I think defensively, I think they're going to hold up against the run for a while. I think Miami's going to get theirs. I think Louisville wants it to be a high-scoring game. I think the Cards cover, but I think that Miami wins the game in the end. They've just got too much firepower.
Yeah, I'm going with Miami 38, Louisville 23. I think Miami is the best line of scrimmage team in the country. They've dominated every opponent that they've played so far this season to this point at the line of scrimmage. And I expect that to continue against a Louisville team that, has room for improvement at the line of scrimmage. I think Miller Moss is a tough matchup for a team like Miami too, because he's not a total statue, but he does lack some mobility. So I think, Louisville definitely has some explosive potential that you have to be aware of. But Miami's defense is truly one of the better defenses in the country. And I think as the game settles down, Miami pulls away and covers the spread.
All right, W picks there. Before we go, Jody, I know we're talking college football. Any chance you got any Breeders' Cup picks for us?
In a week, I'm almost there. I'm getting there. In 1 week, I'll be good to go. So
all right,
it's gonna be a good one.
We'll find a reason to get you back on here. I got a few dollars in my pocket.
There you go.
Jody, David, appreciate it as always. We tap in tonight's matchup between the two in the ACC. But don't forget on Saturday we got a big one on CBS. #1 in the land. Miami's #2, but Ohio State is #1. They take their talents to Madison to face on Wisconsin on Saturday on CBS and Paramount Plus. Of course, tap in at 3:30.